Mr. Allen will do this in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Thank you for coming out and participating with Waynesboro City Council. We're still operating on are we still doing the call-in?
We will do the call-in.
Okay. All right. But if you want to make public comment tonight, there's a sign up in the back of the room there. Please sign up. Once it comes time for public comment period, we'll collect those and call those up to speak. Just for your knowledge, when you come up for public comment, it's a time for council to listen to your concerns, and we can get back to you in time with the answers. We're not going to answer or have interaction with anybody at the podium tonight. So with that, if Mr. Shaw would, do you have this number?
I do.
Okay.
For anyone who'd like to call in for public comment during the citizen comment period this evening, please dial toll-free 844-844-9200. When prompted, enter the access code for tonight's meeting, which is 398145#. Again, the access code is 398145#. You will hear Q&A session has started and press *6. We'll be listening. You will hear if you'd like to speak, please press 1 to be added to the queue and press 1. While you're in the queue, you'll hear this evening's meeting, and you'll wait until a moderator prompts you to go ahead and speak and share your comments with council.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Shaw's sitting in for Mike Camp, who's on vacation, and only 4 of us up here tonight. Miss Williams is on vacation also, so it's that time of year. With that, we're coming up to item number 2, which is to adopt the meeting agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 3 is to consideration of our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hofstadter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next matter is item number 4, and that's matters from the mayor. I just have one thing tonight I want to talk about. We lost a good public servant this week. He went home to be with the Lord, and Mr. W. Charles Poland was our Commonwealth attorney for 28 years. He retired in 1997 after holding that position for so long. Before he was a public servant in the city of Waynesboro, he was a Korean War veteran. So to me, that's a special person that served in Korean War. So I really admire him and think a lot of him. He was a great public servant and a Commonwealth attorney for the city of Waynesboro. So we are grateful to have his service to the community and extend our sympathies out to his family and all the friends. So if we could just have a moment of silence in remembrance of Mr. Poland. All right, thank you all very much. That brings us to item number 5, and that's matters from council members. Do we have anything? Doc, you have anything?
I do. You know I do, Mr. Mayor. News continues to be good on the COVID front. If you've looked at the Virginia Department of Health site, we have been averaging less than 1 new case per day for the last 10 days. And so that's great, but it's not zero. And so again, that gets us to the second part of the conversation, was vaccine. Currently in Waynesboro, the percent of the total population, including children, that has had at least one vaccine is 52%. So we've made it over 50% for the first vaccine. Fully vaccinated for total population, 45.9%. For the adult population, 18 and above, first vaccine, or at least one vaccine, 57.8%, so well over 50%, getting close to 60%. Fully vaccinated, 52%. So for our adult population, we are over 50% fully vaccinated, which is great. But we need to keep working that. Again, that's what's going to keep it under control. So again, if you have not had a chance to get a vaccine yet, they are available lots of places. I do encourage folks to talk to their physicians, talk to their family if they have questions or concerns, other folks that have had it. Now over half the population, or half of the town has had it. So talk to your friends and neighbors and see if they've had any problems. But I think you'll find that they'll endorse it, and hopefully we'll get to higher numbers even than that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Hossetter. Gary, Bruce, good? All right. Well, item number 6 is to receive receive a report on our third quarter finances from Mr. McCormick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Item 6 on council's agenda is to receive a report updating the financial status of the city through the third quarter of fiscal year 2021. This report includes the 9 months beginning on July 1st, 2020 and ending on March 31st, 2021. Within this report is a summary of revenues, expenditures, and an update on sales, mills, and lodging taxes. Beginning with the revenue report, all the funds are trending where they would be expected. About half of the general fund's revenue is collected through general property taxes, which are due in July and December, which is why the revenue is trending above the 75% of the 3/4 marker. In the water, sewer, and refuse funds, the charges for services are all between 65% and 70%. This is to be expected since billings lag about 2 months behind consumption. Stormwater is only billed twice per year, with the second bill not being generated until the June-July timeframe for the second half of 2021. So approximately 50% of charges for services is yet to be billed and collected. The expenditures for all funds appear to be on track. The majority of the expenditures are below the 3/4 marker, and where expenditures are over that threshold is generally caused by purchase orders that are encumbering large portions of the funds, timing of interfund transfers, or timing of debt payments. The last 3 tables show the status of the sales, meals, and lodging taxes. Sales has been strong throughout the whole year. Meals were down through most of the first 3 quarters, but appear to be returning to 2019 levels for March. Lodging tax was the most heavily impacted by the pandemic restrictions through 3 quarters, but it also appears to be returning to 2019 levels during February and March. There's no action needed by council on this item, but if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them now.
Anyone have questions for Mr. McCormick? Thank you, sir, very much. Brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is to consider adopting a Central Shenandoah Mitigation Plan 2020 update. Mr. Kreitzer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Shaw. This is the time designated to, we've been reviewing the regional hazard mitigation plan. This plan has to be readopted every 5 years. The purpose of the plan is to identify hazards in the region and in the individual communities and rank them from natural disasters to man-made disasters to terrorism, and develop mitigation strategies. That's done through all of the local emergency managers and work groups that are conducted through the Planning District Commission. They manage this plan for us, and then it needs to be readopted by council. This plan is very important because without having a hazard mitigation plan, it negatively affects our ability to apply for FEMA grants, FEMA mitigation grants and other types. So we're required to have this plan to be eligible. It's been around since the early 2000s. It has been readopted several times. This is just the 5-year update. So I'm available if there are any questions.
One question relative to the, I understand that the PDC just recently received a regional grant to assist, I think actually the CARES Act allocation to do risk management and hazard mitigation strategies for, God forbid, another pandemic or otherwise. And was curious if there'd be an interim update or would that, are you sort of envisioning that? Do you know if it?
The plan can be readopted at any point, and we can add to it, or we can wait till the end. We'll see what that evaluation comes out. If there's a significant difference or something significant that we need to do, it very possibly could come back before you.
Okay.
If not, it may be that you won't see it again. You would get an update as to what's going on, but you wouldn't be asked to readopt it for another 5 years.
Okay, great, thanks, Gary.
Other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you, Gary. Great.
Thank you.
All right, so this is something we do vote on. Is there a motion to adopt the updated plan?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Hossetter. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 8. I thought I'd done something wrong. Item number 8 is to receive information regarding recent changes to the Code of Virginia related to minimum wage and the influence of those changes on economic development programs. Council is asked to consider introducing an ordinance amending the City Code, Chapter 22, Article 5, Terrorism Zone, Section 22-207, Certificate and Procedures. Mr. Hitchens is up on deck with this one.
That was tourism, not terrorism.
Did I say terrorism?
Wait, that was the relief, the
That was
hazard mitigation part.
A hybrid between Gary's presentation and Greg's.
Good segue, good segue. So, Mr. Mayor, member of council, thank you for this opportunity. As the Virginia code change with reference to minimum wage necessitates some change in our marketing language for some of our development zones. And we'd also like to propose a cleanup and an ordinance on the tourism zone. So, as you may remember, may recall, we have 5 development zones throughout the city. And a development zone is a geographical area that we'd like to see development in, and we try to encourage that development by way of grants, incentives, or other benefits. 3 of those zones, enterprise, as you can see on the screen, enterprise, tourism, technology, we have some control over through the Virginia code and through the Waynesboro City Code. 2 of which, and 2, opportunity zone and hub zone, are federal designations that are based on formulas. So we have basically no control over those. The minimum wage is mentioned in 2 of our 3 zones that we have control over, the enterprise zone and the tourism zone. And in both of those cases, the current reference is a % of federal minimum wage entitles someone to some sort of benefit. And that's either 175% of minimum wage or 200% of minimum wage. So we're looking for higher than minimum wage jobs in order to incentivize those jobs. The technology zone does not refer to minimum wage. We use Bureau of Labor Statistics for that on average wage. So that is not affected by this. The change is being monitored by the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, and on December 1st of every year, they will look back and determine whether the Virginia minimum wage or the federal minimum wage is higher. So all of the language in the state programs will say exactly that. You get this benefit if you hit 175% of the Virginia minimum wage or the federal minimum wage, whichever is higher, as determined by DHCD every year. So I'm proposing that we change all of our marketing language just to mirror and be consistent with the state code. The second item that I'd like to talk about is the tourism zone, and the section of code that we'd like to change was in your materials ahead of time, where we're changing the recipient of the applicant from the Commissioner of Revenue to the Economic Development Director. That's just a cleanup way to make the application process smoother. It also is consistent with our technology zone. So it eliminates any change, eliminates any misunderstanding of how things get done. So again, just to let you be aware that we're changing the language on minimum wage to be consistent and proposing a change in the city code of the tourism zone to be consistent with the technology zone. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Is there a reason that the Commissioner of Revenue was involved in this at all?
When we created the tourism zone, we copied and pasted for some other cities that did that, and it was in there, and we just missed it. So,
Any other? Okay. Thank you, sir, very much.
thank you.
All right, is there a motion to introduce the ordinance amending Chapter 22, Article 5, Tourism Zone, Section 22-207, Certificate Procedures?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hossetter. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. And then item number 9 is to consider adopting an ordinance appropriating a $1,000 donation to the Department of Parks and Recreation in the general fund for the purchase of agricultural supplies. Mr. McCormick, this one's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the purpose of this ordinance is to receive funds that were donated by the soccer organization of Charlottesville area incorporated. The donation is for field maintenance, and it was received on June 11th, 2021. The amount of $1,000, and it's restricted to the purpose of field maintenance. It can be introduced and adopted this evening with council.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hossetter. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item number 10 is Boards Commission, Valley Community Service Board. Item number 10 is to consider appointing Dan Sullivan to the Valley Community Services Board. This is a reappointment, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, he currently serves, so is there a motion to reappoint Dan Sullivan?
I'll make it. Go ahead, Mr.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Mr. Short, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, Mr. Shaw, communications, correspondence, and calendars.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we're trying to coordinate a work session for the middle of July. Mr. Hamp, I believe, had proposed July the 14th at 6 p.m., and I realize now that that's perhaps a work conflict for Dr. Hosstetter. And so I guess our question would be, Dr. Hosstetter, if we were to move that to 6:30 or 7 o'clock, is that more
Yes.
acceptable?
That would be easier to make sure I get.
So, Mr. Mayor, do you have a present?
Let's go with 7.
Preference? 7 o'clock?
Give him plenty of time.
Good for all?
Bring us dinner.
I still want to have 10 minutes.
All right. Ms. Michelson, I take it we can just simply do that from the verbal consent we just heard. Okay, good. Then we will have a work session on July 4th at 7 o'clock.
July 4th?
I'm sorry, July 14th.
This session will be at Mr. Shaw's house with the barbecue.
Fireworks to be determined.
Bring your own firecrackers.
Okay, July 14th at 7 p.m. All right, this brings us to citizen comment period. I see Mr. Scott has signed up,
Yes, sir, he has.
and Mr. Scott knows the rules, so let's just go.
Thank you. Good evening, honorable stewards of our fair city. Craig Scott from 1616 Armistead Road. I wanted to thank Mr. Mayor for the courteous note or letter that you sent me about a week ago. I am disappointed about not having a meeting. I see no downside. I did want to introduce an empirical point. Privatization has one irrefutable point here. We would have a business that would generate, not cost the city, taxes, as other businesses would do, whether it's Lycra, property owners, et cetera. That is empirical. Like physics, economics has irrefutable, immutable laws, things that work optimally for goods and services, delivery of whatever, food, clothes, etc. Street paving. And on that point, it's, I also saw here, I haven't noticed, obviously in our consent agenda, item G, those expenses would disappear for the city. Just another food for thought. The reason given in the note, and I appreciate it, again, it was extremely courteous and thoughtful note, letter that was signed by you, and I'm grateful for it, and with great respect. Control is at best an illusion in our life. Best laid plans of mice and men, we've all heard that, and it's true. I ride horses, I know what control is. When a 1,200-pound beast decides to do one thing and I want to do another. So it's really a non sequitur. It's at the end of the day, what is the best venue in a rational, empirical manner? Leave egos or any other agendas out. How can we move the city forward in a productive way? We've seen there are failures in privatization, absolutely. And as good stewards of our fair city, I know you're on the ball on that, and I respect that. And Mr. Shaw is as sharp as a tack as they come, young man. This can be applied, and I think, and I will present more hearings in the future to help our citizens to, build the proverbial better mousetrap at a lower cost, so we can have enterprise zones with lower taxes without a burden to the budget. It's things like that. We know down the street there's vacant stores. I don't have to tell you. So this would be a win-win. I will emphasize that. Again, I say efficiency is compassion. And it's optimal. It helps some of our rundown areas without central planning. The miracle, or as Adam Smith would call the invisible hand of the marketplace, is optimal. We all dream beautiful things, but it's hubris, and I don't mean any disrespect, because we're all guilty of that, vanity. There is a million things that we cannot conceive of, and the marketplace is the optimal venue for take that. The near infinite variabilities of the marketplace that central planning cannot hope to match. As the close of the 20th century, we've seen that. Thank you, and bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak tonight? Okay. With that, it brings us to item number 13. Item number 13, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. This meeting's adjourned.